What is the spiritual power of our Unitarian Universalist faith? I'm confronted with this question every time I conduct a Pathway to Membership class, like I did yesterday. The UU theologian Tandeka says that we falter when we try to explain how our Unitarian Universalist faith heals, saves, liberates, holds, and moves us to ethical action and compassion. And Tandeka created the What Moves Us program. It's an adult faith development curriculum that peels back the doctrine-rich theological language that can prevent us from affirming our faith experiences with one another and in the wider world. And you can find that entire curriculum on the uua.org website. But this morning, I'm just going to touch on the theological underpinning of this course. It's important because UUs in this day and age have never been really known as evangelists. We don't spread the word about our faith tradition. And maybe by the end of this sermon, you'll come away wondering whether you can actually give it a shot and try to translate your own personal experiences into an articulation of why you are a UU. And of course, later on, in a few weeks, we're going to have a service called Why I Am a UU, and I'd like for you to listen at that time to the experiences that are shared by some of our members and see if they echo with what Tandeka says. The introduction to the course, What Moves Us, quotes a conclusion of a 2005 UUA Commission on Appraisal report called Engaging Our Theological Diversity, which found that almost universally among UUs, personal experience is considered the most important source of religious conviction. It seems that our personal faith as UUs begins with our own life experiences. The report invites us to deepen and clarify our theological understanding of personal experience, individually and collectively. And to this end, we must do two things, says Tandeka. We must investigate what personal experience means for us today as Unitarian Universalists, and we must explore how our individual personal experiences become Unitarian Universalist religious convictions. Tandeka is asking us to consider what it is about personal experience that not only establishes the common ground of our UU faith as one religious people, but also at the same time shows us how our amazing theological diversity is able to thrive. Because whether you're a longtime member or a visitor, one of the things you'll notice about us, and I say this in my welcome, is that our church welcomes different people of different beliefs who come to worship as one. As Tandeka reminds us, Unitarian Universalist theists cite personal experience to affirm the sanctity of God. Unitarian Universalist humanists, on the other hand, use personal experience to affirm the sanctity of human life. Others among us use personal experiences to affirm their pagan, Buddhist, agnostic, Christian, or Jewish claims about the fundamental nature, value, and meaning of their lives. Others use personal experience to define themselves simply as Unitarian Universalists. So, what binds us together? Well, Tandeka's answer is this: we love beyond belief. Our liberal faith tradition encourages us to embrace persons rather than creeds. And so we endeavor as Unitarian Universalists to love others beyond their own beliefs. Our Sunday morning worship services cause many visitors to say that they experience an atmosphere of care and compassion, after which they might come away feeling loved beyond belief. Tandeka claims that This affirmation of others is the major source of our religious unity and our theological diversity. And before I go any further, let me just tell you a little bit more about Thandeka from the biography that's included in the curriculum, What Moves Us. She's taught at a number of seminaries and universities, and her work has been important in the ministerial preparation of many of our current UU ministers. But before receiving her doctorate in philosophy of religion and theology from Claremont Graduate University, Thandeka was an Emmy award-winning television producer. Over 16 years, she made more than 400 television programs. And her name in the Xhosa language means beloved. It was given to her by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. She's been a keynote speaker at Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist events across the world, and has also led workshops and spoken to hundreds of our congregations in the United States. She's one of the major voices of the small group ministry movement. And she was at General Assembly this summer to talk about the worship culture at the Tulsa UU Church with the Reverend Carlton Pearson and the Reverend Marlin Lavenhar. In her theology, which she sometimes calls affect theology after her study of the place of emotion and belief, she suggests that Unitarian Universalists maintain a mental space of difference between our thoughts and feelings, which enables others to make a diversity of personal theological claims about what brought on their own personal change of heart. Love beyond belief in our non-creedal faith tradition means that personal experience has three basic elements for us as UUs: a change of heart, a congregational ethos of care and compassion, and freedom to explore various sources to explain our religious feelings and sentiments and the moral values and actions linked to them. And now, because I'd like for us to try to get at an understanding of emotional experience, I'd like to try one of the exercises that's in the What Moves Us curriculum. Let's reflect for a moment. And you don't have to say anything, you just have to reflect on it. On an occasion when you were able to create a shift in emotional mood from downcast or sad to uplifted, even if only for a short time, through an experience such as listening to music, watching a movie, a play, or going to a sporting event, some other form of entertainment. Recall for yourself the ways you knew that your emotional state was shifting and then positively altered. So think of that shift from downcast to uplifted by something you experienced. What did that shift feel like? Did you experience a change in temperature? Did you feel cooler or warmer? Did you stop sweating or crying? Did your pulse rate change? Did you begin to smile or laugh? How did you discern that your internal emotional mood was shifting and then in the end had shifted to a more positive and uplifting manner? Thandeka calls that uplifting shift in your emotional life a change of heart. And she uses change of heart to describe that first of three elements that she spotlights as the content of what personal experience means for us as a major source of our UU religious convictions. And so now I'd like to ask you if you can identify any elements of a worship service that you've experienced here that has affected your mood from downcast to uplifted. Have you ever had what Thandeka calls a change of heart in response to something that happened during a service? Maybe you arrived here not in the best frame of mind, but you came away uplifted or at least out of your bad mood. Do you think that a change of heart was also experienced by others in the congregation at that time? I know that we have services where this emotional climax is really emphasized. For example, in the Day of the Dead service or in our Blue Christmas service or in our camp meeting service, which is coming up soon, where we sing lots of fun songs. Tandeka says that we should pay more attention to the way we create and sustain the emotional atmosphere of our religious life. She believes that our own congregation's ability to create an atmosphere of unconditional love, love beyond belief, is the emotional bond that binds us together and makes us one community, filled with persons who hold very different religious beliefs. Tandeka makes a distinction between the personal experience of a change of heart and a personal change of heart within a gathered religious community. That change being the emotional uplift and embrace a faith community can offer. So once more, be reflecting back to a time when you were filled with joy. Where were you when you were filled with joy? The last time you can remember. Were you at home? Were you at a concert? At a party? Maybe you were in a religious service or on vacation. Maybe you were on a hike or seated on the sand at the beach, watching the tide roll in. Were you alone? Were you with someone special? Maybe you were gardening, telling a joke, or jogging. Now pay attention to how you've just been recalling this time. You found things, memories, sensations, experiences. You gathered them together in your mind, and by doing so, you filled a moment of time. You packed it full of thoughts and feelings, places and things, and bound them together as yours. No one else, even if they were there with you, can have that same bundle of thoughts and feelings from that time that you felt joy. Tandeka says that this recollecting and binding process is a spiritual act. It's opening up time and giving it the texture, the content, the feelings, and ideas actually present in your experience. This way of packing time with detail and dimension, slowing it down by filling it up with the full presence of life, is the essence of every spiritual practice. This opening up of time is what she calls sacred time. Sacred time is not the opposite of profane time. Sacred time is the opposite of fleeting time. Fleeting time is the kind of time in which we are distracted. We're racing around trying to catch up as we fall further behind. It's working at the computer while a friend talks to us on the phone. By contrast, Tandeka says that sacred time is noticing a shift of tone in a person's voice and asking, what's wrong? It's full presence. It's paying attention in the moment. Sacred time, she says, is biological time. It's the time our bodies take to act or think or feel. When we pay attention to biological time, we focus on the science and the art of spiritual practice. Now, there's some resonance for this idea with the expanding horizon of awareness that comes in the practice of mindfulness in the Buddhist tradition. Andrew Weiss, writing about the practice of Tonglen meditation, says it reminds us that if we want to experience the ultimate reality, we have to experience it in the here and now of our physical reality. Dr. Stefan Rechtschaffen, who is a physician, author, and co-founder of the Omega Institute, the largest holistic education center in the country, explores this science of spiritual practice. And he wrote an essay called Time Shifting. And in it, he begins with a simple question: do you have enough time in your life? Few people in his workshops and seminars answer this question affirmatively. I can't imagine anybody here who would say, yes, I have enough time, because stress is rampant. Rechtschaffen uses two sets of exercises to help us understand his point, and let's try them right now. First, think of a red balloon. Next, think of a pink elephant. Now, pay attention to how long it took to shift from one thought to the next, a fraction of a second. His term for this split-second kind of time is mental time. Now, try his second set of exercises. Feel sad. Now feel angry. Now feel rapturously in love. How long did it take to shift, if you ever got out of the first one? Rechtschaffen says that if the shift is much slower than with mental time, it's a sign of what he calls emotional time. Emotional time is not quick time thinking. It's long time feeling. Emotional time takes so long, he explains, because feelings can't be conjured up just like that. Feelings are experienced by way of chemical communication within the body. They're a wave that washes over us. It takes emotional time for them to emerge. And to adequately deal with real feelings takes more time. So when we're rushed or stressed, it's much easier to habitually go to our mind and repress our feelings. The mind, with its lightning-quick synapses, seems to get the job done. Feelings just get in the way. And given full rein, we fear they might pull us under and drown us. So when we pause and unpleasant feelings inevitably bob up, we bolt from them. We turn on the TV, we eat sugar, we make a phone call, anything not to be in the moment. Mark Nepo suggests that if we don't feel our feelings all the way through, they never leave us. And then we do all kinds of unusual things to get out from under them. Rechtschaffen helps us to think about time shifting as our innate human ability to alter the kind of time in which we live, simply by paying attention to the manner in which we make our way through life. Do we navigate this moment as mental time, or do we navigate this moment as emotional time? We can compare this shift with the shift that we make as we enter into the holy time of worship each Sunday. How many of us are rushing to get here on time or maybe ahead of time, but don't, because of the conspiracy of traffic lights in the way? Or maybe the child who at the last minute has to go to the bathroom, or the elderly passenger who takes a couple minutes longer to get in the car. Those of us who prepare worship have to keep in mind that the congregation is made up of people who are shifting into a different space, from mental space to emotional space. And our opening elements of worship should facilitate this. And so our chime bowl being rung and brought through the sanctuary from the rear doors, the worship leader pausing halfway and then again behind the podium to ring it, and the prelude that comes after it. Both of these give us a chance to settle into our seats and clear our minds and prepare for that holy time. It's also a time that heightens our senses and opens up our emotions, because the chime may make us feel relaxed. The music of the prelude may be calming or may make us nostalgic or even amuse us, connecting to a memory of the first time we might have heard it or played it. Wayne Arneson and Kathleen Rollins, in their book Worship That Works, says that the first visual and auditory impressions of a service are vital in creating a space that allows qualities of transformative worship to reveal themselves. The power of symbols, like the lighting of the chalice, is important in creating a safe space where our emotions can begin to coexist with our minds. Our common emotional ground and our commitment to intellectual freedom together allow us to respect and affirm the diversity of and openness to religious beliefs. And as Thandeka says, our hearts are not restricted by belief, but they are moved liturgically to love beyond belief. If we resolve to pay attention to the way in which we time shift, and if we also make the commitment to enter into emotional time, one benefit of this personal practice is stress reduction. Being open to and accepting of our emotions allows us to sit quietly in the present. And Rechtschaffen says, then we experience something quite remarkable that is key to living at ease with time. In the present moment, there is no stress. Stress comes from resisting what is actually happening in the moment. And what's usually happening is emotion, is feeling. Our continued effort to change what is so in this moment is in fact the very cause of the stress we wish to avoid. Pain, either emotional or physical, may be present right now. However, it's the resistance to it that causes stress, while acceptance leads to relief. Our bodies matter. They are the way we experience sacred time. We are more than our thoughts. We are more than our ideas. We are alive, and we are enough. How can we let creation play to an empty house? How can we ignore the amazing gift of our lives and the transforming grace of love, love beyond belief, which we offer Sunday after Sunday right here in this sanctuary? We create our own beloved community here so that we can take it out of these doors and bring it to the wider world. I hope you can see how, as Thandeka claims, Unitarian Universalist faith heals, saves, liberates, holds, and moves us to ethical action and compassion. And I hope that you, too, will come away from the service this morning feeling loved beyond belief. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.